Okay, everybody, we are here to talk about the fact that Britain is no longer considered a safe part of the world for trans people to live in. Which, I don't know, do you want to give a first reaction on that?
I'm just thinking, it's fine. If you don't like Britain, why don't we ship you off somewhere perfectly safe, like Saudi Arabia?
Just
That's
one of those nice countries that will stone you to death for being trans.
pretty much. Honestly, I was just casually scrolling through Facebook, looking for updates on geek merch, and fucking this shit comes up, and I just couldn't. I had to.
Out of interest, what was it that you're following? That was this someone we know, or was this just?
No, this was something someone was raging about in Kyrgyzstan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not following HuffPost. Jesus Christ.
Okay. No, it really is something that we in Britain are considered not safe to be around trans people. I mean, I can be vocal on Twitter, but it's a case of no longer considered safe is
That's just
like
horseshit.
that's
Absolute horseshit. That's people being paranoid. It's got nothing to do with anyone else.
well, that's the thing. If the country isn't safe for trans people to live in, that's people being attacked on the streets, and not just a one-off by some nut job. That's a commonplace occurrence
Yeah.
if we're not safe for trans people, because regular people, not to say that trans people aren't regular, but
Well, they're not, though. Hey, I'll say it if you won't. I don't give a shit.
people who aren't trans get attacked on the street. It's a thing that exists worldwide. It's an unfortunate thing that exists, but unfortunately, violence is second nature to some
Commonplace.
people.
It,
Yeah,
this is the problem I have, is that, random white dude gets punched on a night out and it's, shit, that sucks. Sucks to be you. Fucking trans person gets looked at from across the road and it's immediately abuse.
oh yeah, you can't you got to leave them alone with those dyed hair and the you know
Oh yeah, they're definitely, you'd have to really look for them.
yeah.
Totally. It's
Well,
not like they
the thing
stick
is
out like a thumb.
the thing is even Riley Dennis
Ugh.
wouldn't be unless you knew Riley Dennis, you wouldn't notice Riley Dennis out of a crowd unless you were going around staring at Adam's apples, you know. But
Yeah.
it's a case of, for the most part, trans people don't stand out
Yeah, I mean, this is the
until
thing.
they
Like,
do something that makes them stand out.
exactly. This is the problem, is that when people think of trans people, they think of, you know, your your Bruce Jenner
Yeah,
and people that really like to draw the focus to their problems. But honestly, the majority of trans people are just getting on with shit. Like they don't feel the need to call attention to the fact that they're trans. They just get on with their fucking lives.
quite. Anyway, are we going to get on with
Yeah, we probably should actually. That's probably a decent idea.
Yeah, okay. Well, alright, it doesn't matter if that gets covered, that's just the headline repeated anyway. Um, so we know from recent Stonewall research how bad things are if you're trying to get on with your life as a trans person in Britain today. Do we? Because I read through the Stonewall research and I couldn't find anything that really stood out as difficulty past being trans. So, obviously, it's going to be difficult being trans if you've got to go through transition.
Yeah, if you're genuinely
But
trans.
past that, I didn't see any real evidence of anything that would stop people just getting on with their lives.
Yeah.
So, like, Yeah, it's just in the last 12 months, 2 in 5 people, trans people, not people, not that they're not people, but
I was just waiting for you to realise what you just said. You realise you're going to get fucking Street Journal now.
2 in 5 specifically trans people
Mm-hmm.
have experienced a hate crime or incident. Now that really comes into what you count as a hate crime or incident.
Exactly.
So, like,
An incident can be fucking anything, and what classes as a hate crime nowadays is not using people's pronouns. So personally, I'm inclined to completely gloss over that and call it absolute shit.
quite. Every day, trans people continue to be mocked, excluded, bullied, and attacked simply for existing. Now,
So get on with it. Let's
what,
be honest. If you're not being assaulted, just deal with it. If people are calling you names or looking at you funny, you deal with it because it's not a hate crime. It's just a part of life, and you need to grow a pair.
well, that's the thing. They say mocked. I have white hair. I got mocked all the way through school. Excluded. Well, an introvert is excluded.
Well, exactly. It's too general.
Bullied. Again, same as
That's
mocked. And attacked. Like,
attack is different.
yeah, attacked is for
You're
one
being
thing there that is different.
that is the only one that really stands out to me because if you are actually genuinely being abused, fair play, that's not okay. However, most of the time, the things that people count as abuse just don't cut it.
Well, not only that, because they've listed it as mocked, excluded, bullied, and attacked. Because they've given it in that list, they can give a massive list of incidents and say all of these were incidents and only have a couple of them be attacks.
Yeah, exactly.
And just the rest of them being someone made a joke.
This is the thing. You really can't. Articles like this are purposefully general so that they don't necessarily have to convince people by providing actual concrete case studies.
But now other countries are openly agreeing that Britain is an unsafe place for trans people. Now, I
What other
already read
countries?
this, but I just want to see if anyone can guess what those countries might be.
Oh, can I guess? Because I wasn't paying attention when you were reading through earlier.
That depends whether you're looking at the screen or not.
I'm only looking at the sentence we were on,
Yeah?
but I can make a solid guess on Canada.
No. But
Piss. God damn it.
no, we're one step down from both libtards. It's New Zealand. So the ones that are basically playing the little brother to Canada, they're just kind of following along in Canada's footsteps. Last month, a tribunal in New Zealand granted asylum to a trans woman from Britain on the basis that her life would be in danger if she returned here. Now, the thing is, when you talk about granting asylum, if you look at places like Syria and you see the number of refugees that have come across, the amount of people who were granted asylum in various countries, not just Britain, and then you look at this and it says a trans woman, not all, a trans woman. You know that that's an isolated incident then, if
Yeah,
it's one case. And
absolutely.
and if it's one person, then there's two possibilities of what is being caused by this. And that's either there's an individual or group of individuals that are a threat to this woman, in which case there's no reason she couldn't stay in the country. There's just a problem with a group of individuals. Worst case scenario, you get moved. You move to a different area. But there are going to be people who dislike trans people no matter where you're from. Even if you're in the liberal utopia of Canada, you can guarantee there's going to be someone there who doesn't like trans people.
Oh yeah, it's just that they'll get arrested for it. They'll still exist.
You get arrested just for opening your mouth in that country. Or the other possibility is once again an individual problem, but with her, in which she's done something which makes her in danger, which obviously I don't want to imply, but it is a possibility.
Well, this is the thing. It's all speculation because they've conveniently left out any important context to this.
Well, that's the thing. They don't, to be fair, they don't even specify that that's because she's a trans woman.
Yeah.
That could very well be a case of she's pissed off a local criminal.
This is the thing. It
Because
focuses in on the fact that it's a trans woman, but it says that it's on the basis that her life would be in danger if she returned.
Not because her life would be in danger because she's trans.
Exactly. It could be something we don't even know about that they're willfully omitting.
It's deliberately vague.
Exactly.
So apparently it should be considered a national embarrassment that this is where we are now as a nation.
Oh, I agree, this nation is embarrassing, not for the reasons this thing's saying.
Well, that's the thing. If we've had one person granted asylum in a different country, one person, Syria is just dying of embarrassment, surely.
I honestly weep the state of the UK at this point, because we really need to sort out our fucking priorities. You know, there are so many people who are homeless and unemployed, or terminally ill, or just... There are so many genuine issues that need addressing, and this is the shit that we are being faced with.
Apparently we can't continue to call ourselves a world leader in LGBT inclusion, nor a beacon of equality for diverse communities.
Gag.
I'm just wondering what part of equality trans people don't have. I don't know of any right that anybody has that any other person doesn't. Many mainstream media voices, from newspaper columnists to social media commentators, which they haven't actually seen fit to name.
Yep.
Which is telling, because they haven't said the Daily Mail.
They've said literally nothing. They've said many mainstream media voices, and then proceeded to name not one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you're going to say social media commentators, it's so easy, even if it's incorrect, to list Milo, to list Sargon or Omegon, or someone who's active and talking about this stuff in a light that the liberals don't like.
Yeah. There are people that spring to mind immediately that could have easily been listed.
I don't think I've actually heard anyone commenting more than disagreement on transphobia.
Yeah.
Which is weird because they say that these newspaper columnists and social media commentators have stepped up a gear over recent months in their attempts to make vile transphobia acceptable, questioning the right of trans people to even exist.
Now, that right there is what I call fluff. It's total shit that you use to pad out an essay when you need to meet the word count. Well, it means literally nothing, and is just it's shit. It's total shit.
Well, that's the thing. They haven't given an example of this vile transphobia. They haven't given an example of a single person questioning the right of trans people to even exist. Now, obviously I don't see everything on the internet. Obviously I don't hear everything that everyone has to say, and obviously there are people out there who don't like trans people.
Yeah.
But as a society, we're not massively full of them like this article would have you believe.
Exactly. Mainly because we're not allowed to be, am I right?
Well, no, I the thing is, I'm not a vile transphobic. I'm not someone who would question the right of trans people to even exist. I'm not the kind of people who want... I'm not the kind of people. I'm not the kind of person who wants anyone to not exist.
Oh, you're being so tentative about this. I love it. It's hilarious. Honestly, reading about the whole fucking... Where did it say it? Oh, you scrolled, that's why.
Which bit are you looking for?
The right for trans people to even exist somewhere.
Oh no, I didn't scroll past that one. That's here.
Ah, okay, cheers. Yeah, right. That bit there stands out to me because in terms of questioning the right of trans people to even exist, that could quite easily be people pointing out the biology in the fact that you can't really change your gender.
Well,
If you're born a certain way, you can have hormone therapy, you can change your parts, but fundamentally, it won't really change who you were born as.
well, obviously you do get closer to the other gender, but
Well, yeah, you get closer, but it doesn't actually alter it.
well, yeah.
Technically, again, this is just being technical, and personally, I think it's going to sound terrible, but I think as long as you've put the effort in, fair dues.
Well, quite. Like, the thing is, I think that the questioning the right of trans people to even exist is less that they've had the death threats that I would consider questioning the right of trans people to even exist. And they'll have people saying, like, there's only two genders. And
Exactly.
it'll be the
Yeah.
non-binaries who have been questioned the right of the people to exist. And the thing is, saying that there's no more than two genders isn't questioning their right to exist, it's questioning their perceived identity.
Yeah, again, it's back to the whole technically it's a mental disorder thing, which it is, and is there's no point in trying to glamorize it and say that, you know, someone with a split personality disorder, you have to recognize them by certain pronouns and all of this shit, and one day they're Dave, the other day they're Steve, one day they're Jenny the florist. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that shit because fundamentally it's a disorder and we shouldn't have to be sympathizing with shit like this. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, don't be polite about it. I'm just saying I have a problem with people making an issue of it. If someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, by the way, would you mind if?" Yeah, no worries. When you start demanding it from me, I'm going to go, "Fuck you, and all of your friends, and possibly your parents."
For enabling you.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing is, like, you look at how these people would have been treated beforehand. They wouldn't have been, if you look like 100 years ago, they wouldn't have been the kind of people who were like the gays were subjected to like electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
They're not the kinds of people who would be subjected to that. As far as the LGBT community goes, the trans people have had it the easiest out of all of them.
In the UK.
I think out of all of them as a whole, personally, on a societal level, because I think that your sexual orientation is something that more people got punished for than
Yeah, I think
your
that
gender identity.
fundamentally, your sexual orientation is something that's gonna come out eventually, whereas your gender identity doesn't have to.
Not just that, it's a case of, like I was saying, if you walked up to someone in even like the 1950s and you came out as gay, it was something that was treated with barbaric things to try and cure it. Whereas if you walked up to someone and started talking about being not being male or female or something like that, you're more likely to find that you were either ignored or laughed at. It wasn't, at least not to my knowledge, it's never been punished in the same way in the West, at least.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think that the whole thing with being gay was kind of a weird ethical thing that stemmed from religion,
Yeah.
fundamentally. whereas being transgender never really cropped up in that regard. So
Yeah,
people
but
just
there
kind
was
of treat
never.
it.
I don't believe there was ever a point in the Bible where it said a man shall not dress as a woman.
Yeah.
In the same way that there was the a man shall not lie with another man.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Because in the Bible, that was under the. I'm pretty sure that was under the same bit about lying with animals.
yeah.
So when it
Which
comes
is
to comparing the two,
horrific when you think about it,
yeah.
but it's like.
So when it
the
comes to
thing.
comparing the two, I think most places are less safe for gay people than they are for trans people. At least
Yeah,
in the
I
past.
think that's probably a fair argument.
This isn't something that is open for debate. See, they put it out there immediately after talking absolute bollocks with no evidence that you shouldn't question them,
Yeah,
which is
and
amazing.
we're just chilling here, like, actually,
That's
I
all we're
think we
doing.
will. I think we fucking will.
Yeah,
Bring
don't
it.
tell us what to do. And giving the green light to these messages has devastating real-world consequences for trans people.
They're missing a full stop.
Yeah, they are. It's fine. But I'm sure there'll be more mistakes. It's written by someone from the Stonewall. It's about one step up from fucking feminist frequency. So I knew that I'd get a groan.
Anything is a step up.
When you talk about devastating real world consequences, you can't seriously be insinuating that one person or a group of people, like, making jokes or questioning non-binary people or anything like that is the kind of thing that would have an adverse reaction. Everyone is subject to that kind of thing for some aspect of their personality, like I mentioned earlier about my hair. And
Yeah.
it's a thing that generally it will crop up and it's part of your identity, and part of discussion is discussing your differences, and sometimes you're not going to like everything that is said. That
but
is
you've got to deal with that because that's life.
Well, yeah, to quote Jimmy Carr, offences taken, not given, and
Oh, I love that. I love that quote.
that quote is basically what I live my life by.
Absolutely one of my fucking mottos. It's pretty much that, and if at first you don't succeed, give up. And I got that from my granddad, who is a legend.
If at first you don't succeed, fuck it and go and do something else.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so the devastating real-world consequences for trans people is that many trans people feel unable to be themselves because of this treatment, whether at work, using public transport, or even just shopping for groceries.
Sounds like a you problem.
Well, the thing is, like, eventually, no matter what your issue is, you'll get used to it. You will just do your thing. If you're the kind of person who won't just do your thing, that's an internal problem.
Yeah, that's bordering on an anxiety disorder.
Yeah. The woman recently granted asylum in New Zealand told the courts that she would wait until after midnight to shop for her essentials in Britain. This was so she would...
Wait, what stores to get your essentials from are still open after midnight? Where do you shop?
Oh, Asda is a 24-hour place.
The fuck? Our Asda wasn't. It was only open till 11.
Well,
I say only.
The one here is.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, some places are 24-hour ones.
But amazing for everyone else.
Shopping until after midnight. If you're waiting until after midnight to shop because you're worried about the people who will be around during the day, you're not fucking thinking this through.
No, because I'd be more worried about going out at night.
Yeah. You walk out of Tesco's or out of Asda at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're walking home and you're laden down with bags and you see someone approaching you, you don't get to just smile and continue on your way or do the British thing of not smile, put your head down and continue walking.
Yeah, or smile at the floor. I do that.
Yeah, smile at the floor, that's always a good one.
Yeah.
You just do that thing of, like, you do the subtle checks for every movement they do. I don't know whether that's me being paranoid or whether that's a general thing, but
when I'm out and about on my own during the day, I literally gauge the direction of the sun, walk along the appropriate path so that I can see the shadows behind me by looking to my side.
I do that at night with the street lamps.
Yeah, I do that during
I've
the
got to
day.
admit.
And to be honest, that's an everyone thing.
Yeah.
Or at least a majority of people think. That's
At least us.
Well, yeah, alright, fine. That's a weirdo thing. It's not exclusively a fucking I'm a victimized transgender individual thing.
Yeah.
That's just, honestly, to a degree, it's paranoia, but also to a degree, it's just self-preservation.
Well,
it's just common sense.
Yeah. The thing is, it goes on to say that this would be because there would be as few people around as possible, and she felt too afraid and unsafe to be herself in public. And the real question is, isn't that phobia of just being in crowds? Isn't that completely fucking unrelated? I'd say it's unrelated.
I don't know, I mean...
It might be influenced by, but if you're afraid to go out in crowds, that's probably not a trans issue.
I'm focusing in more on the she felt too afraid and unsafe to be herself in public, and I'm thinking, what? Did you go out in booty shorts and a crop top? I don't get it. Maybe it's just me and the fact that I really couldn't give a fuck, but I just think if you are that terrified to be yourself in public, that is 110% a you problem. You have an issue there.
Well, that's the thing. That isn't Britain being unsafe. That's you being shit scared.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're wandering around the streets of a war-torn country.
Exactly.
You're not worried because you might be gunned down any second. You're worried because something might, but 99.999% of the time won't happen.
And a lot of the time, that tiny percent of what might happen will be someone will do a double take.
Well, yeah. The other thing is, like it said about 2 out of 5 people have experienced attacks, and I was looking at the things on the other tabs, and the history of violence against LGBT people. I highlighted earlier the one specifically against trans people, and there are 2 instances listed on Wikipedia, and I know that obviously that's not going to be every instance.
No. It was just a quick search.
Yeah, it was a quick search, but I couldn't find any others. So that means that there have been 2 widely circulated attacks on trans women in the last 17 years.
I wouldn't say that was an epidemic, person.
No. When you look at the list of unlawfully killed transgender people, this doesn't include suicide, accident, or other causes. And you look at, by country, the United Kingdom doesn't have a section. To be fair, the United States doesn't have a section either. Actually, yeah, it does, because it's got the cafeteria riot, the disenfranchisement, history, rights, law, Title X. Whereas we've got a section on the rights and a section on a Equality Act.
Yeah.
That's not the same as there being an epidemic. That's not 2 in 5 people have been attacked.
That statistic from the beginning, at best, was fucking. A few people were asked about shit, and a few were like, meh, whatevs, and a couple were like, I feel attacked. That's what that is.
Well, that's the other thing, though. Like, if you're walking down the street and you have changed yourself to look out of place, because, like I said earlier about Riley Dennis, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Unless you were you wouldn't know that she was trans unless you looked at the Adam's apple or looked at
if she wore a scarf,
then you would have to stare intently to know.
Yeah.
And and she's one of the people most widely known as being an obvious trans.
Yeah.
So, for anyone to actually realise that you're trans in public, you've got to have done something. Whether it's the thing that you've worn, whether it's the hair colour you've got, there's got to be something that's caught their eye in the first place.
Yeah. But then you're going to get on the whole fucking slut walk at this rate with the whole, I should be able to wear whatever I want and still be recognised as trans. Doesn't work like that.
Well, no, but what I mean is, like, if you've dyed your hair a really bright colour, or if you're wearing clothes that are really out there, and you're talking about getting people doing double takes, or people noticing because they've been looking at you because of that, that's not an issue with Britain being unsafe. That's an issue with you've worn something that draws attention.
Exactly.
That attention has then made them notice or made them comment, and you're uncomfortable with that. Everyday transphobia in Britain filters down into our schools too. Wow, you mean when you talk about incidents including bullying, that bullying might happen at a school? Fucking hell. Stop the presses, everybody. Bullying happens at schools.
Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, the easiest way to deal with bullies is to fight back. I know
Throw them over a bench.
I know that fucking... Yeah, that was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
I know that fucking everyone's like, you should tell the teacher. No, just scare the shit out of them and they will lay off. I can tell you from experience, that is the case.
Yeah.
Either that or stop giving a shit.
Either don't give a reaction or give a reaction they won't want to have again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
Alright, almost half of young trans people have attempted suicide. I believe we've already covered that with it's a you issue.
Yeah.
Like,
again, that's your mental health is very different to Britain made me want to die by my own hand.
Yeah. Like, if you are uncomfortable in your skin, that is obviously a bad thing. And
yeah, but it's
we're
not
never going to say that you're privileged to have that.
No.
But you're not going to be any more comfortable with your skin depending on your geographical location.
Exactly.
Oh, my skin looks better in this light, so I'm fine with being the wrong sex. It's...
No. I can personally assure you that gender dysphoria is a very real and very, very depressing thing. It sucks shit. But fundamentally, it is a problem with your brain. It's got nothing to do with the way other people are around you. It's the fact that you look at yourself and you just despise everything that you are. And it's a terrible thing, and I'm totally sympathetic toward it. But again, kind of a you problem.
Well, to really emphasise that point, how many of those half are people who have come out to friends or come out to anyone? Because if you're doing it and you haven't come out to anyone, if only you know, that isn't anything about Britain.
No.
If you haven't told anyone, no one has even had the opportunity to make you feel bad. And if the first sign that anybody notices is Jake down the road slit his wrists, and we found out later he was insecure because he's trans, that's not a Britain being unsafe problem.
No.
That's a Jake was unhappy with his life problem.
Yeah. And again, it's tragic. But it's still Jake's problem.
I love the way you use his name.
Well,
My
you gave him a
hypothetical
name.
man.
Well, but all I'm thinking of is Jake from Dead by Daylight, so I'm just picturing him sad, sat in a corner, slitting his wrist with a trapper on, looking like, well, that was easy.
I didn't even need to kill anyone this round.
Just sits there
Just
like...
found out they were
the
trans
trap
and
was
let
his
them do it
mind.
themselves. We should stop making jokes.
We should.
Suicide jokes. Funny so long as no one's around is suicidal.
It's fine, once you've been that low, you can joke about it.
That's the other thing, like, we've both gone through the depression
Yeah,
thing. But
we've both been there.
yeah, yeah, joking is
Joking's
laughter is the
healthy.
best medicine.
It is, unless you like actually need a painkiller because you're having spinal surgery. Otherwise, I wouldn't suggest laughing.
Yeah,
Oh
just
fuck.
2 in 5 of Britain's teachers condemn transphobic bullying. Now, this usually is the bit where there's an asterisk and down the bottom there's a link to the study done.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Nope.
And usually when there's the asterisk and it goes down to the study done, you'll find that it's like when you're watching an advert and it says young people agree, blah 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 blah, it will say next to the asterisk 46% of 12 young people aged
Yeah.
16 to 20 agreed. And
Yeah.
it doesn't even need to actually show it, so long as they tell you in the small print that it's bollocks.
Yeah. Pretty
But
much.
this doesn't even do that, so they
But if you give
so so they could have sent an email to 5 people, gotten 2 responses from 2 teachers who condemned transphobic bullying, and gotten no responses from the other 3, and they can claim that.
yeah.
Or, because they haven't said anything in there, they could have not sent any teachers anything and said
Yep.
that.
Unless you can prove it, it doesn't mean shit. And this is the thing I think a lot of people tend to forget when they like genuinely repost kind of shit.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that so many people now have this very fixed narrative in their heads that they want to be able to justify. They're not interested in how reliable their sources are. It's just, can I find something to back up what I want to believe? Yes, I can.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's like when I brought up the Wikipedia pieces. I did make quite clear. Obviously, not every attack is going to wind up in Wikipedia. I don't seriously believe that only 2 people have been attacked.
No, totally.
So this winter we are set to go into a public consultation on reforming the Gender Recognition Act, and the thing that they want to reform is the spousal veto, which has the potential to transform the invasive and bureaucratic system that governs how trans people get legal recognition of their gender. Our nation is at a crossroads, and now more than ever, blah de blah, allies doing the right thing and making trans equality their responsibility. Because,
We can't do this on our own. We're weak little trans people.
hey, that is internalized transphobia.
I honestly don't fucking get why do LGBT etc. people need fucking allies? Why can't they fight their own pissing battles like the rest of?
So basically, they talk about the Gender Recognition Act, and the biggest problem that they have with it is the spousal veto, which is that when 2 people are married and one of them wants to have their gender recognised as something other than the sex they were born as, they have to have the spouse sign a thing to say that they accept this. And it is more along the lines of the relationship is going to continue healthily, and that both parties know what's going on, rather than a case of they can't have that legal recognition without that.
Yeah, like it's not a case of how dare you have to give us permission. It's more of a case of yo, we Gucci.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what they're saying.
It's more of a formal agreement that
yeah,
the marriage is to continue.
yeah.
Because obviously some people don't want to be in a relationship with a trans person, and
Which is their decision. So.
yeah, it is their decision. And if they decide that they don't want to be with this person, if they are straight and this person of the opposite sex wants to become the same sex, or if they're gay and this person of the same sex wants to become the opposite sex, that's totally their decision. And basically it's just a legal recognition of the fact that the relationship is still going to be a thing once this person has legal recognition. And if the spouse doesn't want to sign this, then it's generally an accepted thing that the marriage is going to end. And while technically you can't go through with the legal recognition of the gender until after the marriage is ended, it's not a case of you can't go through with legal recognition of the gender just because someone else says no. At no point do they say your husband didn't sign this sheet when you were together 12 years ago, so you can't be recognised as a different gender, the other gender. Now,
Yeah.
it's just it's just a thing of while you're in a relationship, both parties should be aware and in agreement, which you would hope that was the case for relationships.
I know a lot of people say they don't find out themselves for a while, but let's be honest, you fucking know.
Well, not only that. If say for the sake of argument you don't know beforehand, you've got to accept that it is a life-changing thing, and you can't expect with everything the only people who are of a fixed relation to you are your family. Spouses, friends, work colleagues, they're not. And if you're going through a life-changing thing and someone decides that they don't want to be part of your life anymore, it's unfortunate and it's not a nice thing, but you have to accept it and move on.
I mean, personally, I can say that if I wasn't in a long and stable relationship, I would be looking into transitioning. But because I've been in this relationship so long and I'm so comfortable where I am, I can happily make the decision to not go through with anything surgical or any hormone, because my other half means more to me than transitioning would mean. That's an unpopular decision to make, but it's still out there for anyone that's thinking, oh no shit, but I really love Steve and I want to be with Steve forever, but I'd have to leave him and transition. No, you don't. You have the option to not transition, but to still live your life presenting yourself as best as you can, how you want to present yourself. That's still an option.
Yeah, well, to just round up the spousal veto thing, it's less of a whether or not you have permission to get the legal recognition of your gender, and more of a whether or not they want to continue with the relationship as is.
It's just a formality.
So we all need to step up. Or have we all stepped up? Is that?
I'm sat down and I refuse to get up.
Ah, that's fair. Will you at least be loud?
For the sake of your fucking audio, no.
Visible. We can't be visible. If we were visible saying the things we said, there would probably be a large backlash.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's the unfortunate thing about freedom of speech. You have it until you're told that you kind of don't.
Like you have it, but with it comes freedom of objection.
Yeah.
Which you have to be prepared for.
Well, unless you're Canada, in which case you just get really mad at anyone who objects.
You write new laws.
So they're suggesting that you are stepping up and being loud and visible of support of the rights of trans people on social media, in the work canteen, or at our local supermarket. Not yours, theirs.
Oh,
get your ass over to their local supermarket. Fucking do it.
There'll be one Sainsbury's packed with SJWs. Like, why? What happened?
Why does it have to be this Sainsbury's?
Yeah, shit like that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, no, we don't need to step up. No, we don't need to be loud. And no, we don't need to be visible in our support.
So
it's not necessary. You just accept people and move on. That's the crux of it.
So we'll wrap up this shameful situation with this wonderfully written article from Roofhunt, who you will see at her local supermarket.
Stepping up, being loud, and being visible in her support.
So if you want to learn more about how to come out, specifically in support, not to come out, that's a different site.
Just to be a hunt in general.
Yeah.
I'm shit. I am shit. I was already shit, and now I'm shittier.
If you want to come out in support of the trans community, on Roofhunt's website, on stonewall.org, go ahead and do that. But I don't think you want to do that if you've listened to an hour of us.
Or just go on her Twitter and, just
You
be
can do
loud
that too.
and visible.
And
in your support, obviously.
yeah, otherwise you might find that she's one of the people who blocks you. I mean, I don't...
Oh my god, dude. How many times have you been by different people?
Quite a few, actually.
You
But
need a running
the latest one was earlier today.
GG.
So I'm gonna leave you with the image of a trans person who has refused to be under the umbrella of equal rights. I hope you appreciate the art. It was made by yours truly.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take credit for that ever in my life.
And
Look at that neck.
Ugh. Hey, the neck is supposed to show them being bent over, okay? And I know I'm meant to do that with the back.
When you're hunched over, do you break your neck?
But yes, we will leave you with that amazing image. And if you want any more of my artwork, please please do follow the link on to my Twitter account. And
we should make that a regular feature.
A regular feature. Let's do that.
Really shitty MS Paint artwork.
Yeah.
Do a Ringo Starr.
5 minutes in Paint with Cynical North. Alright.
Hell yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there for today, folks.
Alrighty.
So, until our next.
Jesus, dude, what are you planning?
Don't
rope me into this.
Hey. I'm not gonna make that joke. I should stop making bad jokes now.
Nah. By this point, I expect no one to still be here.
No one will still be here. But if anyone is, we will see you next time. Adios.